All right. Apologies for the technical difficulties and the delay. Probably will be a bit of a reduced hangout tonight, but I want to make sure I got to see everybody. Wanted to use our streaming software, but it kind of crapped out on me today. So we're going directly from YouTube, which I know is not as pretty, not as exciting, but I know it works. And right now, that's all that matters to me. So technical difficulties. Couldn't quite shake past them in an amount of time. I would have to take more time to take a look at this. So figured it's starting to get on the later side as far as what we usually schedule or what I usually have scheduled. So I figured let's get something in, some amount of time in to hang out with anybody who wants to pop in and talk shopping. This is the doldrums of the NFL offseason, right? There's not a ton going on. All the coverage at this point is just kind of clinging and holding on to the rumors that started 2 weeks ago. Where is Aaron Rodgers actually getting traded? Where's Lamar Jackson going to go? Who's the favorite to go number one overall? Which quarterback? We're dissecting Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson is kind of wiggling his way into that conversation, at least for some people, not everybody, but for some. It's just kind of like going on and on right now. Just that's what we're latching on to. This is, one of the quieter times of the NFL offseason, but still wanted to hop on, talk shop with everybody, or anybody who wants to pop in. We'll take a quick look at the Dynasty landscape. Obviously, a lot of people who follow me play Dynasty, and they're maybe doing startup drafts, or they're thinking about which rookies to target with the picks that they have in their upcoming rookie drafts. So that landscape is obviously ever changing. So staying on top of it at this time of year, while it can be a bit, you might be playing a little bit going in circles with some of your thoughts and your takes, and are you flip-flopping between one player and another? This is that time of year where, again, it's kind of the doldrums. You're just rehashing the same thoughts as far as your process and who you like, and them from an NFL perspective. What does your favorite team want to do, or what do they plan to do? And then, of course, what's the trickle down effect there from a fantasy perspective, So that's kind of where we're at. It's not the most thrilling part of the offseason right now. Obviously, we all know with the NFL, a bombshell could drop at any given moment. Somebody sacks up and trades for Lamar. The Jets and Packers finally agree on whatever compensation they want to include in an Aaron Rodgers trade. That's where we're at, right? Basically all speculation of what will happen. So that's what we got going on. New Jerusalem, Alex, good to see you guys. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for hanging out. So, literally the biggest development right now, if you're a fantasy football player in the offseason, is that right now I think it's all exclusively Superflex drafts on Underdog Fantasy right now if you're playing best ball. The big tournament is a Superflex tournament. They just started adding slow non-tournament entries for Superflex best ball. So those are options. I've joined a few of those. One fast draft that I did quickly, as it turns out, wasn't my favorite draft. I think I ended up drafting like 5 or 6 quarterbacks out of, in a 20 round best Superflex best ball league. Just because I didn't get one of the top flight options. So I just felt like I needed to kind of backload with a bunch of shots in the dark, But it's all Superflex drafts right now. I assume probably until that tournament, the current tournament on Underdog fills, until that's complete, we probably won't see them go back to one quarterback leagues. Let the Superflex cake bake a little bit for Underdog. So obviously that poses a different strategy right? Completely flips the tables as far as ADP in those leagues, and what your strategy should be in best ball. More than ever, even in one quarterback leagues, we're starting to see the top quarterbacks go. I'm talking about not one or two, three or four go in the first 25, 30 picks of a draft, of a one QB draft. So, I mean, the point being there, the idea being that in a tournament, you can't stream. In a redraft league, in a 10 team or 12 team, one quarterback redraft league, you can wait and wait and wait on quarterback and just load up on other positions. That's absolutely a sound strategy that I've done plenty of times. The luxury of that, of course, is you can stream week to week those matchups. In best ball, you can't. You're at the mercy of whatever the schedule poses to the players that you select. So getting a high-end quarterback is now more of a thing that you want to do in best ball tournaments in one quarterback leagues. So in Superflex, of course, it's even more amplified. 7 of the first 8 picks are quarterbacks. 10 of the first 15 picks are quarterbacks. And for me in those situations, I'm taking a quarterback until, let's say I have the 8th pick, right? 8th pick of a 12-team Superflex league. That's where I would consider either Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. Because now 7 other players have taken quarterbacks, and at some point that's the point where, generally speaking, most years you're going to start to see some form of a drop off, a tier break, right? Where it's the thought process there is like, all right, well, I'm passing on quarterback with my first pick, but I'm getting a guy who can be the projected overall top player at his position. And that's how you counterbalance the players who are fortunate enough to get the draft position needed to get the high-end quarterbacks in Superflex leagues. So your options are clear. Either front load with 2 really strong quarterback options. That's ideally, your first pick and your third pick. But if you miss out on those options, and now you're looking at Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or Christian McCaffrey or Travis Kelce, and you're at the top of the draft of a Superflex draft, they're 3 or 4 spots below their ADP, or 2 or 3 spots below their ADP. At that point, relative to where you are in the draft, they've fallen. The guys who can finish number 1 at their position overall have fallen. That's where you want to take those. That's where you want to take those players instead of quarterbacks. Otherwise, attack that position hard in Superflex, especially in best ball tournaments. That's how you give yourself a leg up. So I think what I did in mine was, I did oh my gosh, I had the 11th pick in a Superflex league. I took Jamar Chase, and then I think on the turn at 14, I was able to get Dak. So that was good. And then I think my 3rd and 4th picks, there were some really good skill position players that I opted for over quarterbacks. So you can do that, but you're going to end up with a light situation at quarterback in a best ball league. It doesn't feel great in the moment, but then you just take 5, maybe 6 if necessary. Let me see if I can pull this up, what my board looked like. Nemo, what's going on? Hunter, good to see you. Nemo, that's that almost coming up on a year. Alex is on a year. You love to see it, guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Yeah. Oh man, I took a lot of quarterbacks. Yeah. So what did I do? I took Jamar Chase 11th, and then I took Dak 14th. And then I grabbed 2 running backs because, Alex points out you only start 2 wide receivers in the Superflex. So for me, that's a slight boost to running backs. Just because I don't have to fill that third receiver spot. So I'll let them slide and I'll take a running back a few spots above ADP. So in that situation, I took with the 11th pick of the third round and the second pick of the fourth round, I took Nick Chubb because he had fallen there. And then I took Tony Pollard as kind of like a pseudo stack with Dak. And then I didn't take my QB2 again until my fifth round pick, which was Trey Lance, which I'm starting to feel a little bit better about. I'm fine with continuing to go back to the well with Trey Lance and keep taking those shots. But yeah, Nemo, I know it's basically been a year for you. Appreciate you guys sticking with me through this transition. In case anybody missed it or wasn't around, I also posted a message. Also posted a message in Discord, but for anybody who didn't see it or didn't catch the announcement last week, John's ultimately decided to step away from the YouTube channel. He's pursuing other opportunities after a long process where he's kind of assessing things and figuring out what's going on. So obviously disappointing. I'll let people know about this or continue to let people know about this for a little bit longer, but obviously we got to move forward. I have help on the way coming in. I think he's going to drop a short tomorrow with a little bit of a maybe introduction and I think also a take just real quick. So the cavalry is not too far behind. With that being said, let's get to some of these questions and some of these comments. My earliest league. So Alex, this is where I always do my rookie drafts a week after the NFL draft. So, some of the most hardcore dynasty leagues, the ones that the diehards where you've got 12 people committed to paying attention 12 months out of the year. Not every league has that luxury. Not every league has 12 committed league members that are doing their homework, know all of the, know the third and fourth round picks, not just the guys who are going to go in the first 15 picks. They've already drafted. So there's plenty of leagues where they've already drafted. Those are the people who are, some people who are just, they work in the industry or they just love Dynasty and to an extent all forms of fantasy football, but Dynasty specifically. I don't have the luxury of being in a league like that. Our draft is always a week after the NFL draft. That's when I hold my rookie drafts a week after the NFL draft. So, landing spots, where the rookies have ended up, what the situation is that they're walking into going into the summer. In that regard, we don't delay. I don't wait until June or July or anything like that, because then as far as I'm concerned, you're just playing long redraft, right? You're playing like a long keeper league, not dynasty. So we hold our draft a week after the NFL draft. So, everybody has 7 days essentially, or about a week to do their homework from there, from knowing the landing spots. So that's what we do. As far as as far as the Superflex leagues, I kind of already touched on it, but on Underdog, the Superflex best ball leagues, they only start 2 receivers, not 3, because the Superflex is taken up by a quarterback. So, yeah, it's tempting to still take wide receivers high, but of course you opt for quarterbacks as long as you don't have to reach for one relative to expectation. But I'm more likely to spend high draft capital on running backs. Get one stud wide receiver, maybe 2 if the circumstances call for it. If you don't have to reach for a wide receiver. If a wide receiver in a Superflex best ball draft falls 10 spots below ADP, yeah, do it. Of course, obviously value is value, but because you only have to start 2 of them, I will pluck a running back 5, 7, 8 spots above his ADP to ensure I get that player, because there's going to be other people in the draft with the same mindset. Oh, I can get this wide receiver later. I can get a wide receiver 4 later, because a wide receiver 4 isn't going to start on this team or put up numbers for this team in a way that a wide receiver 4 would, where you start 3 receivers. There's a big difference. So for me, yeah, you got to push those wide receivers down the board. And if you have to reach a little bit for running backs, that I understand. Or get your stud tight end earlier, too. Be willing to get Kittle. Be willing to draft Andrews. Not just Travis Kelce. When those tournaments started out, Kelsey's ADP was like 20. And the first Underdog Superflex best ball draft that I joined, I got the turn. I got the 12th and the 13th pick. I was like, I'm not letting Travis Kelce pass me by at the turn, even in a Superflex draft. So I plucked him at 13. His ADP is now sitting at like 15. It's like, okay, the market corrected itself. I got in before the market did that, though. So you're welcome, market. So yeah, pull the wide receivers down the board a little bit in those Superflex drafts. Where do I rank Bijan Hunter? I mean, high. In Dynasty rookie drafts, he's the 101. In Superflex Dynasty rookie drafts, he's the 101. He's over Bryce Young. He's over CJ Stroud. He's over Anthony Richardson. The only way there would be a conversation this year is if Caleb Williams was in this year's draft, because then you could, even then, probably not even then. Then you would take Caleb Williams 101. But Bijan goes 101 in all Dynasty rookie formats. In redraft, in one quarterback, he's a top 15 pick. Like, if you have the turn, it's totally fine to take Bijan there. I wouldn't take him at like the, in half PPR scoring. I wouldn't take him at like the 107, 108. Of course, I say that today. Landing spot is going to be a big driver as far as where his ADP, if it moves slightly up, it's not going to move down. But depending on where he goes, it could jump several spots. Right now, his ADP is around where Saquon's is. And because he's projected to be a first-round pick, there's lots of reports and scouting reports and expert assessment and analysis at this point that have kind of come to terms with the fact that Bijan is different in terms of the running back position. He's a top 5 probably player in this draft when you take the position out of it. There's going to be a team that is not going to be able to help themselves, and they're going to take him probably 20 picks in. Like, he won't last to the 20th pick in the draft. Whether that's the right move or not is a separate conversation entirely. The point is, whoever drafts him is going to make him a bell cow. You don't draft Bijan Robinson and then let him be in a committee. So I won't say he's a slam dunk first round pick in redraft, but he's close. He's close. And in Dynasty, I mean, there's plenty who are saying that the second he gets drafted, he's the Dynasty RB1. Probably. All things equal, probably. He's the best running back prospect since Saquon. He only just turned 21 years old. He should have 6 or 7 years of dominant play. You traded draft orders? Okay. I need some context there, Nemo. I need some context. What is the game? Were you supposed to have? Is it like, yeah? What's the context there? Um, and the angle or thought process behind doing that. How do I feel about Denzel Mims' New Jerusalem? I mean, he's still with the Jets, who just brought in Alan Lazard. They traded away Elijah Moore, so pretty much swapped Moore for Lazard, and they brought in Mecole Hardman. I mean, I guess if he gets traded, we could revisit this, but my thoughts on Denzel Mims is he's not on my radar. I mean, he's got 42 catches in 3 seasons. Um, Aaron Rodgers coming in, yeah, that makes it maybe slightly more interesting if that trade actually materializes. But even if it does, I mean, you got Garrett Wilson, you got Alan Lazard. They brought in Mecole Hardman. You're going to get Brees Hall back healthy before long. Michael Carter's a viable pass catcher out of the backfield. I mean, how much more work is there to go around? Ty Conklin had a decent year last year. Yeah, I'm not. I don't have strong feels for Mims at this point. He's his team's wide receiver 4, and when you factor in the other positions, he's probably 7 or 8 on the pecking order. He might have a couple weeks. That's a deep streamer at best. I mean, Alex, I like that. The timer starts for the 101 when the first round ends. Yeah, I mean, I like that. I think that's fair. I mean, that puts it's a combination of that it puts you on the clock with enough pressure, plenty of pressure, but now the 32, or in this year's case 31, most significant additions through the draft that a team will make through the draft. It doesn't take running. It does. There are certain running backs, though. It doesn't take them out of the woods yet, as far as second and third round selections. When running backs go in day 2, they're still a significant threat to the backfield that they enter. If a team thinks enough to spend day 2 draft capital on a running back, so that's an interesting wedge. I would probably take. I mean, that's overnight for the 101. I mean, I guess for the 101, it's easier, right? For whoever has the 101, it's probably easy. You just take Bijan and you don't care where he lands. You don't care ultimately. Even if it's in a situation where you're like, really, that team took him, that team that has this guy and this guy, you're still taking him 101. You maybe feel a little yucky about it for now, but before long, Bijan takes over whatever backfield he joins. So even in that weird, there's not really a worst case scenario for Bijan. There's maybe a short term worst case scenario for him, but again, emphasis on short term. And that's a maybe. But yeah, if you've got like the 106 or the 107 or somewhere around there, or even later in the first round, I would milk that clock for as long as I possibly could just to see how many draft picks I can squeeze through before I ultimately make my selection, I would think. Yeah, I would think. See, like I'm on the clock now in one of these Superflex um, Underdog drafts. I wish I could share my screen straight through YouTube, too, but I can't. But anyway, I see. So I'm at my 7th round pick. It's the 77th pick in the draft. I have my 2 quarterbacks. That's great. I have 1 running back, and I have 3 wide receivers. There's some great value here, but I'm probably going to reach down 7, 8 spots, 9 spots. It's 9 spots above his ADP for David Montgomery just to grab a running back. Because I see down the line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 people that pick twice before I pick again. 4 of them have 0 or 1 running backs. So again, in these drafts, I'll pass on Christian Kirk and I like Michael Pittman falling this far is a pretty strong value, but I think I have to pass on it. See, that's the other thing with these Underdog Superflex leagues. Even when the wide receiver value looks really good in the 4th round, it's going to look even better in the 6th and 7th. You're going to get really good players at wide receiver. Be willing to reach on running back, not quarterback. Like, don't grab CJ Stroud 2 picks after, Derek Carr, or, don't pick CJ Stroud as as a top 50 pick. But like grab running backs. Well, I guess based on ADP, the running backs are a little sparse there. But grab. You can grab one of these tight ends. You could grab an Aaron Jones or maybe a Najee Harris. The wide receiver value is excellent in these drafts. But you got to, you have to minimize it a little bit because you just don't start 3. It's a big enough difference where you kind of have to overlook the wide receivers a little bit once you even have 2 of them, let alone 3. So anyway, Nemo, you traded Pollard and Elijah Moore for the 103 this year. It could be Gibbs. I mean, for me, if it's full PPR, I guess in full PPR, it's probably does Smith and Jigba go 2nd overall? See, that's who I would rather have. That's who I would rather have. And Gibbs is an upper echelon talent. He's a top 40 talent in this year's draft, but Pollard's a potential league winner. Like, Bijan has become a trendy projection to the Cowboys, but are they really going to do that again? Look at what they got to have a little bit of. They got to be sitting in their war room, the Cowboys, and thinking to themselves, we have some buyer's remorse on that contract that we signed Zeke to a few years ago. Look what it forced them to do last offseason. Now, obviously, that's in Bijan's case, that's 5 years from now, but you got to be forward thinking when you make your 1st round pick. I don't think the Cowboys are drafting Bijan Robinson. Again, they have to have buyer's remorse from selecting a running back in the 1st round. Zeke was awesome. He was awesome for them for 4 years, 5 years. But he fell off quickly because he got fed a ridiculous amount of volume in a short amount of time. And then the cap hit was too much for them to be able to keep Amari Cooper, and they traded him for peanuts. Don't you think last year, the 2022 Cowboys would have rather had Amari Cooper than Ezekiel Elliott? Like, I just don't know that they got to have that I wouldn't even call it recency bias, just like the thought of we messed that up. We paid too much money to Zeke, which we were kind of forced to do because we took him really high overall anyway. Are they really going to go down that same path with Bijan when you already have a stud in Tony Pollard, an absolute playmaker. So all of this today, or to say, I don't think the Cowboys are going to spend significant draft capital on a running back because they already have one. So I like Pollard a lot. I would hope that the 103, if you make that trade, Nemo, is for Smith and Jigba. And JSN is going second. See, so like that's what makes me not like the trade as much for you because I think Pollard is a league winner. I do. Gibbs could be that. Pollard is that now. That's my only thing. Gibbs could be that. Pollard is already that. Yeah. Okay, Nima, I got you. I understand. So like you're kind of hoping you get the, or well, I don't know what you're hoping for, but you're hoping, maybe you have like the 8th or ninth pick and you move up to the 4th or 5th pick. I'll say this year, I love picking 4th or 5th. I don't usually like the 5th pick, but this year I'm okay with it because the top 5 is like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, and Travis Kelce. If I have the 5th pick, I'll just take whichever one of those 5 guys is there. It's usually Kupp or Kelce, and at this point, if I can I'll take Kelce in the top 5. That's fine. Will he do what he did last year again? Probably not. Will he be the tight end 1 or 2 again? Yeah. Because that's just what he does. And for whatever it's worth, Juju Smith-Schuster is gone. It's Travis Kelce, MVS, Kadarius Toney, and Sky Moore. And then whoever they add in the draft, right? Am I forgetting anybody that they signed in free agency? So if you end up with like the 8th or ninth pick and swap to the 4th or 5th pick, Nemo, that would be to me that's ideal. Or of course, if you go, of course, if you go from 9 or 10 to 1, and then now you get to take either Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, I think it personally should be Chase this year. Yeah, that's what you're hoping for. Alex, we'll call that a win since Taylor gave you an overall RB1 season last year or 2 years ago now at this point. Yeah, the Calvin Ridley post in the Players Tribune was eye-opening, and it makes it real easy to root for him. It sounds like he's motivated. It sounds like he's hungry. It sounds like he understands the magnitude of what happened, and it feels like the mistake that he made was genuinely a mistake. He just kind of wasn't thinking about as far as the gambling, or he had his mind on so many other things. He just did it. Things happen. The severity of the punishment is unfortunate, but he's done his time. Now he ends up in an upper echelon offense in the Jacksonville Jaguars, catching passes from Trevor Lawrence, and certainly not out of the realm of possibility that he becomes that team's wide receiver 1 pretty much right away. Like, yeah, let's go. Giddy up for Calvin Ridley. Should be good. And Notorious, good to see you. Sorry about the tech difficulties earlier. I don't think the Eagles are selecting Bijan. I would honestly be shocked. I would. Um, what we have to remember with first round picks is that is the fifth year option. It's two things. It's the fifth year option, and also it is the amount of allotted money for the cap hit relative to the position that they play. Um, you're paying a lot of money. Again, what you have to pay a rookie running back in the first round, it's a significant amount of the cap as relative to positional value, right? I'm not sure that I see the Eagles doing it because they have not made a move like that. They'll draft a running back in the second round. They don't draft running backs in the first round. I think a team in the 20s. I think it's going to be a team in the 20s who feel like they're good. They feel like they're close, and they can make a luxury pick. Now the Eagles fit the bill as far as, yeah, in theory they have a pretty good roster. You would think that they might be thinking that, oh, they can make a luxury pick. I don't think they're not taking him at 10, and I don't think he lasts until 30. I think he goes in the 20s. Potentially as high as like 17 or 18. But he's going to be good. He's going to be really good. He's already a top 10 running back in redraft. Probably closer to like RB6-ish. Maybe RB5, right? It's Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley. And Jonathan Taylor. And then it's Bijan. He's going to be solid. Looks like I'm getting some messages from work right on schedule. Probably going to go ahead and shut this down now. I know it's a bit on the later side compared to when I usually go live, and I'm getting some messages from my day job to hop on and take a look at some stuff. The grind never ends when you're working in sports. But I still want to hop on for a little bit to talk shop with you guys. Obviously, I wanted to go live at 6. Had some technical difficulties. Had to take a look at a couple of things. Unfortunately, it was a little. What I was trying wasn't working, so decided to bootleg it straight on YouTube and talk shop for a little while. But I am going to call this tonight. Appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out for a short amount of time. I will be back next Thursday, same time, same place. And you can be on the lookout for some stuff going into the weekend. Maybe, hopefully, a new face showing himself here in the near future in terms of upcoming help as far as content creation for the channel. Thank you guys. Everybody have a great weekend. If I don't see you or talk to you in Discord, have fun, be safe, and I'll see y'all next week.